Chapter 501. She doesn't know this is a plot. The next day, Lin Che and Yang Lingxin reached the company together. The company suddenly asked to have a word with them again. Yang Lingxin said at the side, "I think the company is finally not being so stubborn. They were probably just scaring us yesterday. Seeing us stand our ground today must have immediately made them change their minds." But Lin Che was not that optimistic. After being in this circle for some time, one would realize that certain things simply weren't that easy and straightforward. "Let's just go take a look first," Lin Che replied. Yang Lingxin piped, "It must be. Sister Che is so capable and so famous. Any of your shows would have high box office sales. They definitely don't want Sister Che to leave. Furthermore, Sister Che has a great affinity with people in the circle. You know all the capable people. How could Qin Wanwan compare to that?" "That's enough. Don't say that, little Shin. The walls have ears. Sometimes letting others hear such words won't do us good. What are you afraid of, Sister Che? We have abilities and popularity. There's no need to be so scared of them." Lin Che shook her head and looked at Yang Lingxin. "Gossip is a fearful thing. Popularity is contributed by people. One should still remember this." As she spoke, they already reached the place. Lin Che let Yang Lingxin wait outside while she went in to talk to President Chen alone. Otherwise, Yang Lingxin might be rash and blurt out things she shouldn't say. Yang Lingxin watched Lin Che go in while she waited outside. She really couldn't comprehend why Lin Che still had to see those people's faces. She was clearly already a huge celebrity. If she became a huge celebrity one day, she wouldn't bother about other people. She would definitely do whatever she wanted since there would be people paying her bills. She would clearly be above others. Why was there a need to behave as if she didn't have anything? Just then, she saw Qin Wanwan with her crew approaching. Yang Lingxin looked in Qin Wanwan's direction and grunted. Qin Wanwan's eyes flashed. She graciously walked over and didn't seem to have any animosity. "You must be Yang Lingxin. I heard that you are a very good and capable person in Lin Che's crew and always had a good relationship with Lin Che." Actually, Yang Lingxin was picked up by Lin Che and everybody knew that. Yang Lingxin's family condition was not good, so Lin Che recommended her to work in the company. Yang Lingxin always especially worshipped Lin Che, so she followed Lin Che like a loyal dog and Lin Che also trusted her. Although she wasn't as close as Yu Minmin, she still shadowed Lin Che. After Lin Che became famous, the reporters naturally became familiar with the people around her too. Once they heard about it, they went to find out everything about it clearly. Yang Lingxin grunted and thought in her heart, "So pretentious." As if not seeing her attitude, Qin Wanwan said, "Little Shin, I don't think you have any great purpose being with Lin Che. Why don't you join me? Actually, I realize that you are very suited to be an actress. Your looks are comparable to Lin Che's. Why do you have to stand by her side? Actually, you can totally go solo." These words did make Yang Lingxin's heart move. She looked up at Qin Wanwan. However, she knew that Qin Wanwan was not as good at Lin Che. Not mentioning anything else, Lin Che had Gu Jingze. What about Qin Wanwan? Yang Lingxin scoffed, "No thanks. You are not as good as our Sister Che. We'll follow Sister Che to the grave. Don't think about trying to put your foot in. I'm not falling for your trap. Our Sister Che is much more capable than you." Qin Wanwan's expression changed. In her heart, she scoffed and thought, how naive to blindly worship Lin Che. However, Qin Wanwan really had no intention of pulling her over. Qin Wanwan said, "Never mind then. I just thought that you were very capable and wanted to tell you." She turned and walked past, but very forcefully and intentionally stepped on Yang Lingxin's foot. "Ayo!" Yang Lingxin yelped. It was a sharp pain from the high heel. Qin Wanwan quickly said, "I'm sorry." Yang Lingxin looked angrily at the innocent-looking Qin Wanwan. You stepped on me intentionally, didn't you? Ha, do you really think that our Sister Che can be bullied just because she's kind-hearted? Do you think that the people under her can be easily bullied? Let me tell you this, our Sister Che is not someone to be trifled with. You better be careful. You offended our Sister Che. You will definitely end up in a tragic state. When the time comes, it'll be too late for you to beg for mercy." Qin Wanwan looked at her speechlessly. "I merely stepped on you. What does it have to do with that? I already apologized and I didn't bully Lin Che. You didn't. You were bullying our sister Che the past few days. Let me tell you, the name of the person above our sister Che will scare you to death. Really, who is the person above Lin Che? Ha, why should I tell you? I'm not telling you. Go make a guess yourself. Anyway, it's somebody that you can never afford to provoke. Otherwise, how did you think Sister Che could get so famous? Do you really think that you're so capable? Our Sister Che just keeps a low profile and doesn't care about competing with you. Otherwise, our Sister Che could be as famous as she wants. These stupid resources from the company are nothing to us. Qin Wanwan replied, you make it sound as if it is real. Don't believe it if you want. I'm telling you that we've already decided. You wanted to squeeze us out of here, right? We'll leave. We don't care about this stupid company obstructing our future. Qin Wanwan responded, wow, that capable. Haha, I wish you a promising future then. That is a must. Take a look at your stupid plastic face. It can't compare to our sister Che. Our sister Che has way more fans than you. Humph. Although it was intentional, Qin Wanwan was still hopping mad when she heard her insults. She walked right out and her chest was undulating. Lin Che had plenty of loyal fans, but it was all because she tugged at their heartstrings online. Just then, Sister Lin walked over from behind. She pursed her lips and said, all right, Wanwan, don't be mad. Their future will immediately start. It's a pity that it's bleak rather than promising. The two of them smiled at one another. Yang Lingxin was still unaware. She was feeling so good after scolding Qin Wanwan. She thought that she really spoke up for Lin Che and Qin Wanwan didn't dare to say anything at all. Lin Che was being too careful and low profile. Actually, she was already above them all. Why would she need to look at these people's faces? It was so good to scold whenever she wanted. When Lin Che came out of the office, her face was still uptight. Yang Lingxin greeted her. How did it go? No agreement. Let's go. Although Lin Che didn't want to be too adamant with the company, it looked like there was already no other way. They asked her to the company only to drag time. They had no intention of solving the problem at all. However, when the two of them left. Chapter 502, a complaint filed against the company. Chen Jing looked at Lin Che, shook his head, and said, it is rather good, but leaving the company means you will become our enemy. We are not letting you leave in peace. He had to hand it to Qin Wanwan for coming up with such a trick. Lin Che would become a hot search while she would also rise to fame for being the victim. It was as good as stomping on Lin Che while letting herself step up. The next day, Lin Che received a call from Yu Minmin. Qin Wanwan has made her move. You're in trouble. What? Lin Che went online to see. It turned out that there was a video posted online. In it was Yang Lingxin and Qin Wanwan. Qin Wanwan stepped on Yang Lingxin and was insulted until no end. The important thing was Yang Lingxin's words. It was a full-on rant that made people want to die. It blew up on the internet. Lin Che was immediately insulted so much in the top search. Not only the paid posters, but there were also some netizens and fans who couldn't understand it at all. Because Yang Lingxin's words had too much ambiguity. For example, something about Lin Che having someone behind her or that she could be as famous she wanted to be and she didn't care about the company. She had someone behind her. Lin Che was being kept. Now, every other comment online was a suspicious question. I want to know who is keeping Lin Che. Such big words. I want to know why that crew member under Lin Che is so arrogant. I want to say that Lin Che is really a show-off. Just a crew member could insult Qin Wanwan like this. So arrogant. How does Lin Che manage her people? Lin Che was depressed, but she looked at that video. It was really Yang Lingxin. Little Shin always spoke rashly. Lin Che only thought that she didn't cause much trouble because Yu Minmin watched over her strictly. She also didn't really bother about her because Little Shin was still young. Who would have thought? Before she could settle down, Yang Lingxin was already running to Lin Che with tears flowing down her cheeks. Sister Che, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just so angry that she was such a bully. She intentionally bullied me, so I scolded her. I didn't think. Lin Che also thought that it didn't feel right, so she asked her what happened that day. Yang Lingxin told her what happened in detail and knew that she was in the wrong. Standing there now, she looked like a little child admitting to her own mistakes. She looked at Lin Che anxiously, worried that Lin Che would chase her away in her anger. Qin Wanwan plotted this long ago. It turns out that this was the purpose of calling me to the company. Yu Minmin didn't go inside the office and headed straight to Lin Che's house in the afternoon. Yang Lingxin was still crying and Yu Minmin pretended not to see her. She was the cause of this problem this time. Although it wasn't entirely her fault, she indeed needed a little lesson. Yu Minmin said, "It looks like you're really being insulted badly this time." "Yes, but I'm already used to it. Let them insult me. The audience who don't understand will definitely think that I'm too proud. They even said that you were a hypocrite. Idiot. They said that you know how to act. Isn't that a compliment? They said that you acted so purely in your shows, but you're actually a devil." It was almost unbearable. "Yu Minmin, are you intentionally going against me? Why are you telling me all this?" Okay, relax. It's for sure that you'll be scolded, but there are still people who will listen to you. They said that this was a crew member insulting others and not you. It may not have to do with you, but there is a problem with the someone behind you part. What should we do now? We'll take things one at a time. Qin Wanwan is not completely innocent. Nobody in this circle hasn't been tainted before. Alright. Don't look at the comments for a few days. Just keep your President GU company at home. Yes, don't worry, I'd just be torturing myself if I read them. I don't have a glass heart that will be shattered. Yang Lingxin didn't dare to say a word. When she saw Yu Minmin walk outside, she still didn't dare to make a sound. Lin Che decided to rest at home for a few days. Gu Jingze returned home and looked at Lin Che. He went up to her and asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm worried about being yelled at on the streets now. I might as well not go and prepare to rest at home for a few days." Gu Jingze said, "Since it's rare of you to take a break, let's go on a vacation." "Huh, now?" "Yes, I told you that I wanted to take you on a vacation, but we've never had the time." Lin Che immediately jumped up and said, "That's great. Where to? You can see and decide where you want to go." "Oh my, I haven't been to most places before. I've really never gone touring before. Why don't we go to the Great Barrier Reef? Thailand, Europe, we can go." Lin Che began to think about where to go. Gu Jingze looked on from the side with due diligence. Yang Lingxin listened from behind. Separated by a door, she watched the two of them and couldn't help but think that Yu Minmin was still blaming her. However, Lin Che didn't seem to mind at all. Gu Jingze was really good to Lin Che. It must have been because he was worried that Lin Che would be unhappy, so he wanted to take Lin Che out to have fun. Yu Minmin went back on the same day and published a statement on behalf of the studio. Because of communication problems with the company, Lin Che's studio decided to leave Dynamic Pictures. They would be seeking legal solutions for the contract issues. Dynamic Pictures didn't expect Yu Minmin to issue this statement at this time. After that, the problem with the financial company coupled with Lin Che's reputation being tarnished made people wonder if it was a plot by the financial company. Of course, all these logical guesses were only a small part. The majority of the netizens still preferred to ride the tide. In a meeting room at Dynamic Pictures, Chen Jing looked at Qin Wanwan. "Since they have released the statement now, we should hurry and find a lawyer." Qin Wanwan asked, "What's the point of leaving the company? Which financial company would still dare to want her at this point? Unless she goes solo. If she goes solo, we'll drown her and say that nobody wants her." Humph. After releasing the statement, Yu Minmin filed a complaint and sued Dynamic Pictures. However, some people deduced and said that a lawsuit like this against the financial company would have a huge compensation. There was too much unreasonable binding and Lin Che wouldn't be able to leave the company peacefully. She would have to fork out all the money she earned through the years. She would have to take it as a bet on herself to start fresh. Otherwise, she would need somebody else willing to pay the price. Now that she was on the cusp, there would probably be very few big companies willing to take her in. Thus, Lin Che's future now looked really worrying. On that day, Lin Che decided to go to France with Gu Jingze because the country there was denser and they could go to other countries by taking the train. She thought that it was more worth it since they could visit a few countries all at once. Naturally, Gu Jingze went along with her decision and didn't consider much of it. Chapter 503. Yang Lingxin was chased out of the Gu residence. Gu Jingze booked the flight and left with Lin Che. He didn't bring many things and was planning to have his people make the arrangements when they arrived. The private plane was already prepared at the airport. France was also already prepared to receive them. Lin Che and Gu Jingze then boarded the plane. There were many people outside. Lin Che thought, now that I'm at the airport, I would definitely be recorded by the media if they saw me. Thankfully, Gu Jingze has a private plane so I can avoid these people. Outside. There was news that Lin Che hadn't gone out in a long time and seemed to be leaving the country to avoid the hype. That was why airport security was particularly tight. However, the reporters waited around the whole day but didn't see her at all. Did Lin Che not take a plane out of this country? Meanwhile, on Qin Wanwan's side. Knowing that Lin Che left the country, she grunted and said, her tolerance level is way too low. She's going into hiding just like this. We only just had a wave of news. There will still be more to come. Now that she's gone, she won't be able to see this commotion. The next day. After this matter, Qin Wanwan appeared at the airport for some activity. Actually, the reporters were already secretly informed about it. Qin Wanwan said, stop filming me. But the reporters noticed a red mark on Qin Wanwan's face. In an instant, an assumption that Qin Wanwan was hit was splashed across the internet. Everyone snapped pictures of Qin Wanwan and asked if it had to do with Lin Che's secret backing. Did Lin Che have a disagreement with the company? Now that it was made public, what was the company going to do now? The guess about Lin Che's backing instantly rose to the top. Qin Wanwan didn't respond the entire time. She remained silent as she appeared pitiful and left the airport. This made many fans' hearts ache. Someone asked, who exactly is the person behind Lin Che? They dare to hit Qin Wanwan. In the first place, it was strange for Lin Che to rise to fame at that time. Now, I finally understand. It turns out that she had someone behind her. We must boycott Lin Che. Do not watch any shows with Lin Che in them. Do not look at anything that Lin Che is an ambassador of. Do not buy anything that Lin Che endorsed. Exactly. She is taking our money and acting all high and mighty. Who gave her face? Netizens insulted her with enthusiasm, but the studio on Lin Che's side was quiet. The plotted rumor online already resulted in people linking Lin Che to the president. Some people said that Lin Che's manager was Madam President. She was no longer officially her manager anymore and could only be called her former manager. However, perhaps Lin Che was already being controlled by her former manager long ago. This company was simply too profit-driven. They were setting off a hurricane in the entertainment industry. Some people even linked plots from the entertainment industry with plots from the government. All of a sudden, a huge conspiracy theory rose on the internet. Qin Wanwan saw this news on the plane and couldn't help but purse her lips. Now, Yu Minmin could not use her authority even if she wanted to. Because if she did, it would fulfill this conspiracy even more. What was Lin Che going to do now? Qin Wanwan was the best at pretending to be pitiful. This time, not only did she manage to step on Lin Che, she even boosted herself up high. Everybody said that she was a victim and wanted justice for her. This hot topic was raised to the top too. At home, Yang Lingxin suffered every day. She was still staying in the Gu residence but did not dare to step out. Lin Che simply abandoned her and went on a vacation with Gu Jingze. Yang Lingxin stayed in her room. She felt weird that the maids kept staring at her, so she didn't dare to leave her room. She complained in her heart. How could Lin Che do this? How could she abandon her at this time? Was she blaming her? Or was she trying to get rid of her? Lin Che must be wanting to get rid of her and that was why she left her alone. Yang Lingxin naturally did not want to leave. However, there was a knock on her door which gave Yang Lingxin a bad feeling. When Yang Lingxin opened the door, she immediately saw a few of the Gu residence guards standing there oppressively and looking at her. What are you guys doing? President Gu said it before. Your body is not in good condition. This place is too noisy and unsuitable for your recuperation, so we will send you to another place. There is a professional team of doctors there who can help you recuperate properly. Why you where? I'm doing fine here. I don't need to go anywhere else. The guards walked into her room, naturally not caring about her words. They said, but sir has already instructed us. Please follow us out. Yang Lingxin looked at the towering guards. When she usually followed Lin Che, she also saw how they executed orders. These people would kill without batting an eyelid. As long as they received an order, they would absolutely carry it out. She couldn't afford to provoke these top-notch guards. She had no choice but to leave. The maids outside looked at her. None of them liked her either. Now, Sir was finally chasing her out and they were over the moon. She helped Madame before and her body was implicated. That was why Madame allowed her in and didn't want to chase her out. However, nobody else owed her anything. In the end, she stayed here and really took it as her own home. Yang Lingxin went out and got into a car. She then asked the guard, "Hey you gentlemen, where did you say you were taking me?" "A nursing home." "Nursing home? It's especially for mental illnesses. Didn't that mean an asylum?" No, I'm not going there. I'm already okay. I'll go home. I'll go home right now." The guard scoffed coldly. "All right. Then you have to tell Madam yourself that you don't wish to continue treatment. You chose to return home." Yes, I'll go home immediately." Thus, Yang Lingxin was sent back to her home. When she reached home, her mother chased her and asked her where she had been. Yang Lingxin only looked at the mess in her own room and though angrily, "Am I really coming back here again? Why could Lin Che be so fortunate while I am so unlucky? Why could Lin Che change her own fate while she was constantly despised?" She was really very envious that Lin Che could meet a man like Gu Jingze. Looking at her home and her own parents now, she somehow felt frustrated and even suspicious. Why was she born to her own parents? Why couldn't she be born into a rich family? Why were her parents so average? Lin Che and Gu Jingze alighted from the plan. Before they even got to the hotel, Lin Che couldn't resist looking at her phone in the car. She wanted to see how the news was back in their country. She had long gotten used to it and already conditioned her heart such that it was no longer as fragile anymore. However, seeing those insults jump, she still cared deep down. But before she could take out her phone, the man beside her snatched it away. Chapter 504. I'm already very grateful to be famous now. That's enough. You're on a vacation. Don't look at work. Lin Che pouted and looked at Gu Jingze. No, let me have one look. I want to see if it has gotten more serious. Just leave it to your studio. If your studio can't handle a small matter like that, you might as well disband it. To him, it was a small matter. Dynamic Pictures was considered a small financial company under the Orange Light Organization. What was it to him? Orange Light Organization was initially a gaming company that later branched out to do many other things. Dynamic Pictures was one of their branches. That company was also considered one of the leading companies in the gaming industry. The productions company that came out from them was also top-notch. After all, their money and effort were invested in it. On Lin Che's side, it was only a small studio crew that was around for a couple of years. If they wanted to fight against a big company, of course, it was a very difficult thing for them. Naturally, Gu Jingze definitely did not think that Orange Light Organization was any good company. After all, a major business like Gu Industries wouldn't oppress a small company like that, much like an old family business. Lin Che's phone was snatched away. She was just about to say something when Gu Jingze's lips pressed against hers. He stopped her lips from moving and also stopped all of her thoughts. It must have been that suave action of his that made her feel fired up. She forgot about all other miscellaneous thoughts. He soon released her and gently touched her hair. Doesn't this made you forget about all other rubbish completely? Yes. Lin Che's entire soul was hooked by the kiss. How could she think of anything else? However, at this moment, "Oh my, you're kissing in the car seriously, my eyes." The two of them froze. Lin Che quickly looked out and saw that they had already arrived at the hotel entrance. And the person standing at the hotel entrance turned out to be Lu Baikan. Behind him was Gu Jingze. The person who spoke was Lu Baikan. He turned his head mockingly, making her exasperated. God, why were they here? Lin Che hastily pushed Gu Jingze away. Gu Jingze returned to his usual self in no time at all. He plainly tidied Lin Che's hair and opened the car door. Lin Che blushed and thought, damn it. Wasn't their vacation supposed to be just the two of them? What were they doing here too? Lu Baikan didn't expect such a cold man to be so passionate towards a woman. Gu Jingze looked at them from behind and said, I told him not to interrupt you too, but he insisted on coming over. Gu Jingze asked plainly, what are you guys doing in Paris? We came here for work, unlike you guys. You must be here for your honeymoon. We were at St. Petersburg when we heard that you were coming, so we came to see you. It looked like the Gu household informed them of their arrival. The hotel's bellboy was already taking the luggage. Lin Che looked at Lu Baikan. She thought about Lu Chusha and still felt uncomfortable. That was his sister. Was he all right now? The few of them went in. Lu Baikan still spoke plainly with Gu Jingze, telling him about why and what they came here for. They were staying at St. Petersburg for a few days. When they went inside, Lu Baikan let the couple go in to rest. The restaurant already made preparations so that they could come down and eat after they rested. The room was a suite. The decor in the room was very romantic and did not look like a hotel room at all. It looked like a little luxurious palace. Lin Che put down her things and stood there as she looked outside. As if knowing what she was thinking, Gu Jingze said behind, don't worry. Baikan is not a pretentious person. Lu Chusha was in the wrong and I gave the Lu family some face. Nothing happened to Lu Chusha. She was just taken away. He will not think too much into it. After hearing Gu Jingze, Lin Che then relaxed. Whenever she looked at Lu Baikan previously, she would feel slightly awkward. Gu Jingze and Lin Che settled down in their room before heading downstairs to eat. There were not many people in the small restaurant. Some people looked at this elegant-looking couple eating and couldn't resist guessing where they came from. They looked different from other tourists, so they were extremely polite to this couple. There were too many tourists of their kind, making others feel that C Nation simply had too many people. It was as if they would bump into one everywhere they went. From the outside, some people seemed to recognize Lin Che. They were looking at her but did not dare to go in and confirm it. The hotel restrictions were very high and they also didn't allow outsiders to enter. The people outside were increasing in number. Lin Che speechlessly lowered her head and quickly ate her bread. When she finally finished, she quickly went back up. It couldn't even stop in a foreign country. Gu Jingze looked at her as she laid there. He went over to her and said, if you don't like being stared at, I'll have my men clear the space tomorrow. No, Lin Che replied as she laid there. This is the problem of being famous. Although it's annoying, if I think about it, there's always a price to pay for something. Back when I was in C Nation, I didn't have to be afraid of being recognized on the streets. Now that I'm overseas and I get recognized by 1 or 2 fans here, it means that I'm famous. Gu Jingze shook his head and looked at this silly girl. Thinking about my past, I don't even need to talk about being recognized on the streets. I would even be forgotten by the director when I arrived on the set. I was just a little better than a Calefare. But now, people can't possibly forget about me. Indeed, now, whenever she arrived on set, she would have her own room, her own assistant, and her own crew. She was already very satisfied. Thus, these problems could only be a part of her problems. One had to be satisfied and not expect every single thing to be perfect. Gu Jingze lowered his head and kissed her forehead. Gu Jingze's woman was indeed different. Meanwhile, in C Nation. After receiving a court order, Dynamic Pictures also began their attack. The company released a statement saying that Lin Che already decided to hibernate because she violated company regulations. However, Lin Che's contract still belonged to Dynamic Pictures. Thus, unless she was really willing to fork out money and pay the penalty, she was not allowed to sign a contract with other companies. The company also released a statement saying that the company had always treated Lin Che very well. It was just that after Lin Che became famous, she was not happy that the company gave other artists resources. Therefore, she also began to sign contracts under the table before telling the company. For example, the movie, Bandit Fairies, was actually signed on by Lin Che herself. She did not tell the company, but the company bore with it on account that everybody worked together. Unexpectedly, now that the company signed a contract with Qin Wanwan, she was not happy about Qin Wanwan's existence, although it was a normal change of people. She wanted to leave the company, so the company had to make this difficult choice. Chapter 505. The person who redeemed Lin Che is so capable. When the statement was out, everyone saw that the company made sense and had proof. There was also that video as evidence. Some people said that there wouldn't be smoke without fire. It looked like Lin Che indeed had a problem. The company probably wanted to protect her in the past but not anymore. Her own public relations were so bad right now because she didn't utter a word. Qin Wanwan looked at the comments online. It seemed to be leaning on one side and she was extremely elated. It seemed as if Lin Che was just like this. At the same time, Qin Wanwan quickly asked the company to contact the production crew of Witch's Diary to ask if they could replace Lin Che with herself. This was the very first problem. Now that Lin Che's reputation was already so bad, wouldn't they want to quickly replace her? At night, Lin Che called Yu Minmin to ask about the situation. Yu Minmin replied, "If you want to have fun in Europe, go and have fun. Don't bother about whatever that's happening over here. I'm worried that something might happen there. I have been in the company for so many years. I still know one or two people in there. I heard that they are going to the Witch's Diary side to settle the casting issue. Now that things are like this, even if they booked me initially, they probably don't have to do that now." Wasn't this the result that Qin Wanwan and her gang wanted? They were going to drag her down and at the same time, snatch Witch's Diary over. Yu Minmin said, "I'll think of a way to get Witch's Diary back." Lin Che also didn't want Witch's Diary to be taken by Qin Wanwan. She thought angrily that this was such a good show that she deserved on her own effort. Why should it be snatched by Qin Wanwan? In the Witch's Diary production office, the planning team was also actually discussing what to do based on the past few days' events. At this moment, Qin Wanwan's representative looked them up and asked if they could switch cast. Besides Lin Che, the one who did well that day was actually Qin Wanwan. Her fame, poise and acting skills were all compliant with the script. It was just that Lin Che was naturally the better choice. That day, she had already used her acting skills and familiarity with the book to conquer over everyone. However, if she couldn't do it now, there was no other choice but to switch her out. Never mind that there's an issue with the agreement. Her image outside is indeed not good now. If we continue with our casting choice. Yes, and Qin Wanwan has the greater ability now. Lin Che can't fight her and she can't fight her in the future too. Looking at it now, Qin Wanwan will definitely be victorious. Lin Che wants to start afresh this time, but it won't be a good idea. After all, she doesn't have the kind of backing that Qin Wanwan has. I heard that she and the director of Orange Light Organization. Without needing to say anything else, everyone all understood. Just as they settled on their decision, they saw someone outside. Yu Minmin arrived. Everybody saw Yu Minmin. They didn't think much about Yu Minmin in the past. She was considered well-known in her industry and it was also because she nurtured Lin Che, but things were different now. Who didn't recognize her? "Welcome, Madam President," everyone smiled and said. Yu Minmin said, "I'm here to talk about work." They naturally knew why she came here. The producer of the crew worked with Yu Minmin before and he also knew Yu Minmin's character. He said, "We chose Lin Che in the beginning. You also know that we have already informed Dynamic Pictures that we chose Lin Che. But now, she can't even choose her own agreement. What are we going to do?" Yu Minmin said, "After we settle the lawsuit, there will be a new company to sign with immediately. We can also go solo. The compensation is not a small sum. Are you going to use the national tax?" "That's impossible. Gu Jingze and I mean, my relationship with Mr. President has nothing to do with my work. Don't accuse me of using public funds." Hearing Yu Minmin mention Mr. President's full name made them pause in their tracks. However, given their relationship, it shouldn't matter that she called him by name. Every dog will have its day. Knowing someone close to the president made them feel even closer to the president. Well, then you guys have absolutely no money to fork out. Filming is going to commence for our show soon. If you guys can't pay, then we can't film. We have no other choice. Yu Minmin asked, what I tell you that we can raise the money. We really can't believe it. However, at this moment, someone suddenly asked for the director. The director was puzzled and asked, what's going on? Can't you see that I'm talking to Madam President? That person heard this and looked at Yu Minmin nervously. Yu Minmin said, don't bother about him. He was ridiculing me. He then smiled respectfully and quickly said to the director, it is an important matter to do with Madam President's visit today. You'll know when you go over. The director immediately understood the seriousness of the matter. He nodded and went out. Upon entering, he heard someone say, Situ Chong, the second young master of the Situ family, sent a representative saying that he is prepared to invest in our movie. He asked if we needed money. Movie. This was a TV show. The movie had not been confirmed yet. Yes, Mr. Situ said that after we finish filming our show, wouldn't we want to film the movie version? Of course, they did. Really, he wants to invest. Yes, that was what he said. The Situ family made ships and they made ships for a long time. They never invested in a show before. However, anyone would naturally be happy to have an investment. Money was always needed and it would be such an honor that they could establish a connection with this big family group. But he also mentioned one thing. What's up? He asked if the TV show could have Lin Che as the female lead. What? It turned out that it had to do with Lin Che. No wonder he would initiate an investment. What did you say? After I said no, Situ Chong said that Lin Che's contract wouldn't have any issues. He will pay everything for Lin Che. No way. So, the rumor that had been going on about Lin Che having a backing was really true. And this person was Situ Chong. The director froze for a long time. When he went out, Yu Minmin was there, treated like a VIP guest. When he approached her, he grinned even more. Minmin, you didn't tell me earlier that Lin Che has someone redeeming her. Of course, that will work. We will book Lin Che and once she pays off her penalty, we will sign a proper contract. Yu Minmin asked in surprise, really? Yes. You're not kidding me, right? You're not going to go sign a contract with Qin Wanwan after I leave, right? No. If you said earlier that the Situ family's second young master was paying for Lin Che, I wouldn't have talked so much crap. Quick, come, let's take a photo. I want to brag to my family that I know Madam President. What was this? How did it come to this? But Situ family's second young master. Situ Chong. No way Lin Che's fencing master was so good to his own disciple. Chapter 506. Situ Chong turned out to be her master. Qin Wanwan was still waiting anxiously for the final decision. She urged someone again to ask how the decision was on the production side. Had they decided to switch to Qin Wanwan yet? Unexpectedly, the production crew told Sister Lin, we are still prepared to wait and see. We don't intend to switch the cast out for now. This was very euphemistic, but they still heard that the crew was not going to change the lead role. Sister said in surprise, you guys are really not going to change the lead. Lin Che's reputation is now as bad as a fly in the pit. We're still considering it. It's not like you don't have a chance. Forget it. Don't try to fool me. I advise you to think about it carefully. Our Wanwan is now making a dash to the front line. If you want to change in the future, it may be too late by then. Alright, since you've phrased it like that, we have nothing else to talk about. The other party simply hung up. Sister Lin said angrily, this Lin Che. Did she do something in the dark? Qin Wanwan was also very exasperated. They're not going to use Lin Che. How could they? Lin Che's status is so bad now. Then they probably have some other idea. Maybe they're going to use another actress. At the production crew's side, they only scoffed coldly at Qin Wanwan's threat. Qin Wanwan was threatening us over the phone. They must be confused as to why we still dare to use Lin Che. Seriously, they said that their Wanwan is making a dash for the front line. Yes, indeed, but who would have thought that Lin Che would actually know the Situ family? Situ Chong is even willing to pay the penalty for her. It looks like their relationship is not simple. Exactly. One orange light organization cannot compare to the Situ family. They were scornful of Qin Wanwan's performance. They sat back and waited for the day when Qin Wanwan became regretful. Meanwhile, Lin Che also never expected Situ Chong to come to her rescue at this moment. Lin Che thought for a while and then quickly called Situ Chong. Situ Chong said, "What's up, disciple?" Lin Che asked, "Did you call the production crew and say that you were helping me with my penalty? I can't watch anything happen to my disciple." Okay. Furthermore, it's not like you can't afford it actually. But now, the worrying issue is that after you pay yourself out, you won't be able to answer where you got your money from. Others are already suspecting that you have a gold mine backing you up. If you fork out so much money on your own, it is only going to ascertain that suspicion. That is why you guys are cautious and didn't say that you're forking the money out yourself. Situ Chong said everything that Yu Minmin indeed said before. Since she still didn't intend to expose her relationship with Gu Jingze, it was not convenient to reveal where she was getting these millions of yuan to pay her penalty. I did this also to help you clinch this show. It won't be snatched by Qin Wanwan for the time being. Alright, but I'm still very thankful for you. Anyway, it's just a few million yuan. A master like me can still do that for a disciple like you. Alright, the Situ family had a big business. A few million yuan was nothing to them. But Dynamic Pictures now assumed that Lin Che wouldn't be able to afford it. Lin Che was famous now, but the period of her fame was too short. She shouldn't have been able to accumulate that much money and her lifestyle was so extravagant. She didn't look like someone who would save money. They had no idea that this extravagant lifestyle was all because there was indeed someone behind her. To this person, this little bit of extravagance was nothing. The lawsuit soon started. In the court, Dynamic Pictures assumed that Lin Che didn't have money to redeem herself. They simply said, "We are also reasonable people. Just give us the penalty fee and we will naturally terminate the contract." Yu Minmin requested for a lawyer in the court. Before the verdict, Yu Minmin looked at Chen Jing at the back. Chen Jing said, "It's still not too late to change your minds, Minmin." Yu Minmin asked, "How do you spell regret?" Chen Jing grunted, "Minmin, I know that Lin Che cannot raise this amount of money at all. And you also don't dare to give her this money because you wouldn't be able to say where you got it from. You may be Madam President, but it's even more sensitive for political players like you. So you can admit defeat now and apologize to Wanwan. We can make peace." "Forget it. I don't have that intention." Yu Minmin finished speaking and turned to leave. You regret it?" The court quickly announced the verdict. If Lin Che's studio wanted to terminate the contract, they needed to pay 7 million in penalty fees. To many people, 7 million yuan was a mythical sum. Because Lin Che's lawyer didn't bargain that much about the price, this lump sum was considered a huge victory in the hearts of the people from Dynamic Pictures. The people from Dynamic Pictures were very happy. They immediately announced a press conference and said, "We didn't want to come to this stage either. Now, as long as Lin Che apologizes to Wanwan and the company, we will still welcome her back. Otherwise, according to the court verdict, we will release her immediately once we receive the 7 million yuan in penalty." But at this moment, there was new information. Lin Che already handed over the penalty fee at the first minute and was waiting for the court's procession. Once the penalty fee was handed over to Dynamic Pictures, Lin Che and her team would officially be separated from Dynamic Pictures. Dynamic Pictures was stunned. Lin Che handed over 7 million yuan. But in the next moment, Lin Che's crew once again released a statement, saying that they had applied to the court for the second time. Lin Che's name was tainted by Dynamic Pictures to a great extent. It damaged her name and reputation, causing great loss. They requested Dynamic Pictures to apologize to her and compensate her. The people in Dynamic Pictures were so angry that they took it to Weibo and asked where Lin Che got her money from. They asked directly on Weibo where Lin Che's money came from. It was unclear because Dynamic Pictures believed that Lin Che didn't earn 7 million yuan this year. However, Yu Minmin had already prepared beforehand. She partnered up with Situ Chong and registered for a new studio in advance. They established a company under the Situ family's name. Yu Minmin did not need to say anything else. She simply used the studio number to reveal the company's full name and industrial and commercial records. It was written clearly on it. The investor was Situ Chong. Which meant that Situ Chong invested in a company for Lin Che. The Dynamic Pictures people then suddenly recalled seeing Situ Chong waiting for Lin Che at the company. It turned out that Lin Che had long ago established a vague relationship with Situ Chong and found herself a huge backing. Without waiting for Dynamic Pictures to say anything, Lin Che's team already released an announcement explaining the entire situation. Lin Che previously took a month-long leave from the company so that she could train herself. She learned to fence from Situ Chong for a month and became Situ Chong's fencing disciple. The two of them were like old friends from the first meeting and their relationship is now deep. As a result, Situ Chong ended up willing to invest in Lin Che this time. He wants to help his own disciple move forward in her acting career. The Witch's Diary crew saw that Situ Chong indeed paid the penalty for her. They took the opportunity to announce the list of cast members, saying that they already decided that Lin Che would be the female lead in the Witch's Diary TV series. Chapter 507. Lin Che was confessed to. Lin Che's sudden turnover made the media unable to react in time. However, people still didn't feel good about the separation from the company. There were so many opinions online. On one hand, people said that it was simply a betrayal for an artist to leave their original company after becoming famous. Some said that the terms of the financial company were too harsh. It was right to leave. However, people thought even more about the fact that Lin Che knew Situ Chong. They were supposedly master and disciple, but were they really? Wasn't he the gold mine behind her back? In this regard, when the media met Gu Jingze again, they interviewed him. They asked him about his view on Lin Che leaving the financial company. Gu Jingze had always been straightforward. Naturally, his family background and power also didn't require him to pretend. He simply asked, "What did you say? Lin Che is a traitor." "I just want to say that if she really wanted to betray the company, I told her that I could totally let her join my company. I would have supported her and she wouldn't have had to pay a single cent. Everything she earned would have been hers. Why would she need to stay in her original company and still give that, whatever company? Is it Dynamic Pictures? She still needs to give them a 70% cut." The reporters thought that if the Dynamic Pictures people saw what Gu Jingze said, they would be furious. However, the Dynamic Pictures people could only endure it because nobody in the entire circle dared to provoke Gu Jingze. Chen Jing could only watch himself being insulted to nothing. After all, what Gu Jingze said was right. In comparison, although Gu Jingze only had one studio, it was more prominent than the entire Dynamic Pictures. It was said that the Gu family gave him a few floors to set up his company. He had the best position in the building and it was especially unique. In comparison, what was Dynamic Pictures? Sister Lin read the report angrily. This Lin Che Situ Chong actually wants to let her set up a company. He still dares to say that he's not providing for her. Qin Wanwan only stared at the report about Witch's Diary. In the end, did Lin Che still take that show? Furthermore, was Situ Chong really the gold mine behind her back? Chen Jing was also looking from the side. He looked at Sister Lin and said, "I also didn't think that Lin Che would have such a huge connection and have a relationship with the Situ family. If he had known, he wouldn't have been so casual towards Lin Che." It was pointless to regret it now. Now, she had gone out on her own to set up her own company and it was Situ Chong who invested in it. Yu Minmin told Lin Che about everything in detail. Lin Che asked, "How did you get into contact with Situ Chong?" "I was looking for someone to act as our investor so that nobody would question where you got your money from. My original thought was to ask Gu Jingze to simply find some wealthy person he knows to be the investor and use their name. It would also serve as a shield for Gu Jingze. Since Situ Chong was willing now, it made his name more justified. Your relationship with him as master and disciple is real anyway. When we publish a photo of you and him fencing together, everyone will know." Lin Che sighed. When I signed the contract with the company, I didn't care that much about all these compensation clauses. I didn't expect myself having to pay so much in the end. Never mind. What is a few million yuan to your husband? It is as good as buying a car for you. I just don't like it that my money will be taken by them as a benefit. It feels as if I worked for nothing. Relax. We will be suing them for damaging our reputation. I won't rest until I can make them spit out some money on their own. On the other side, Qin Wanwan looked at the online comments angrily. Because of Gu Jingze's words, people started citing Lin Che. How is Lin Che so lucky? So many people are standing on her side. Am I going to be stomped on by her this time? She took Witch's diary and now, people are asking whether I made the video myself. Sister Lin was also feeling very exasperated. But seeing Qin Wanwan like this, she said, she's being kept by Situ Chong and she still has the cheek to announce it. I'll immediately tell people so that they'll scold her. Humph. Sister Lin immediately found people to raise this topic, saying that Lin Che flouted rules. Her gold mine backing, Situ Chong, said that he was her master, but who knew what was actually going on? Her people made it very ugly and said, this Lin Che is living such a good life as a celebrity. All she needs to do is spread her legs and she would get anything she wants. From winning over Gu Jingze to being kept by Situ Chong, Lin Che has been simply sleeping her way up all along. I heard that Lin Che used to be just an errand girl. She slept her way up from the crew to the director, so she became number 2 immediately. She latched herself onto Gu Jingze and slept with him. Again, she slept her way up. How tainted are her nether regions now? Seeing Lin Che get insulted like that, Qin Wanwan felt a lot better. Although it was a blind accusation, Qin Wanwan also believed that if Lin Che didn't sleep with these men, they absolutely wouldn't have supported her this much. However, whether it was Gu Jingze or Situ Chong, their looks and family background would make anyone jealous. But she seemed to have forgotten that she did the same thing before. All she cared about was that Lin Che slept her way up and she was worth nothing. However, she was only happy for a night. The next day, Situ Chong suddenly spoke up. He simply announced on the company's website and said, someone said that I'm providing for Lin Che. I want to say that you guys really sounded out my heart's desire. I do indeed want to provide for Lin Che for the rest of her life. I want her to become Mrs. Situ, but it is a pity that I don't have this opportunity. After I wooed Lin Che with no results, I already backed down and became Lin Che's good friend and good master forever. From her, my passion for fencing was reignited and I also learned to have a never say die spirit. She made me see that there were other colors in life, so I am willing to become her good friend. I will be her trusted friend for as long as I live. Of course, if she changes her mind and decides that I'm not a bad option, I am always ready for her. This obvious confession stunned everybody. Even Lin Che, who was across the ocean, was stunned. This Situ Chong. This raw confession of Situ Chong's instantly made him a popular candidate for passionate men. Everybody dug out Situ Chong's past fencing photos and published his glorious history on Weibo. They even talked about his fancy family background. Just one event made many people know about Situ Chong. It turned out that he was a true fencing champion and also C Nation's true aristocratic gentleman. Lin Che was confessed to by such a dazzling man and even became his disciple. She was way too lucky. Everybody was so envious of Lin Che. To be confessed to by such an extraordinarily dashing man with a deep family background. He was a new age Prince Charming. Chapter 508. People are enjoying themselves in France. Later, everyone began to talk about the two of them on Weibo. Some people said, young Master Chong, don't cry. If Lin Che doesn't want you, we'll all marry you. Qin Wanwan, who still wanted to continue the rumor of Lin Che being provided for, was instantly silenced. Everyone even no longer mentioned Qin Wanwan anymore. The entire internet was filled with Lin Che and Situ Chong. Qin Wanwan was so angry in the company that she wanted to fling her stuff. Lin Che was envied like a princess while she went through all the work and got nothing in the end. Nobody even talked about the video anymore. There was completely no sound from Dynamic Pictures. Meanwhile, Lin Che posted a picture on Weibo. She had been away from the country for a few days and was having fun in Provence. She took a few nice photos, hinting that she was not trying to run away. She was doing very well and didn't need anyone to worry about her. Seeing that the situation seemed to have come full circle, all that was left was the compensation for defamation. They would have to chase after the company for this slowly. Lin Che was in a small villa in Provence as she happily posted her pictures on Weibo. However, there were thousands on comments below her picture that said, "Lin Che, say yes to Satu Chong. He's so nice." Lin Che looked speechlessly at everybody's comments. This Satu Chong really knew how to cause trouble for her. Just then, her phone alert rang again. She saw that it was Chen Jingde. Lin Che thought, he still has the cheek to call me. However, she still picked up the phone. The person who should be hiding now was no longer her anyway. Chen Jing said, "Lin Che, you're having fun outside. President Chen, if you have anything to say, just shoot. I'm on international roaming, so it's very expensive." Quote. Seriously, you have young Master Satu as your support. Why would you still care about this little money? Chen Jingde's voice sounded much more humble. I just used all my money to pay the penalty. It's not like President Chen doesn't know. Lin Che, this is also only because Qin Wanwan has a relationship with Orange Light's boss. I had no choice but to stand on her side. Actually, you are the one that I nurtured with my hands. You have what you have now and you're able to connect with so many top-notch wealthy people. I'm also very happy for you. You. What exactly are you trying to say? I just want to say that this matter is not my fault. We have bosses, we have no choice. Don't worry, I won't attack you for this. I just know that little Che is the most kind-hearted. But I also won't keep in contact with you again. Don't ever call me again. We'll meet each other on the other side. I'll be like a stranger, looking at President Chen. Let me give you advice, be flexible and take advantage of the situation. Even though it seemed like there was no choice, sometimes, it is still better for one to leave a way out for oneself. When Lin Che finished speaking, he simply hung up. On the other end, Chen Jing stared at his phone and shook his head depressingly. He was done for. He completely offended Lin Che because of Qin Wanwan. Provence was very beautiful during this season. The weather was neither too hot nor too cold and it made people feel extra lazy. Lin Che stretched herself lazily. It was early in the morning and she saw people picking lavender on this side. She found it Interesting, so she deserted Gu Jingze and went out to pick flowers with those old grandfathers. They were picking lavender to make essential oils, which were excellent when made during this season. The grandfathers picked the flowers and introduced them to Lin Che at the same time. They said that the lavenders here were very ugly because they were not specially nurtured. These were naturally grown lavender and were specially to make essential oils. The particularly pretty ones on the other side wouldn't be able to produce pure lavender essential oil. Lin Che also kept seeing many new people outside who seemed to be taking wedding photos. There were also people from C Nation who came all the way here for their bridal photo shoot. These wedding photographers really knew how to do business these days. Lin Che stood there and watched. She saw on the other side that Gu Jingze was already up and walking plainly towards her. He faced the clear sunlight as he walked towards her. Although his get-up was very simple, it didn't hinder his exquisite aura. He was so godly and handsome that he looked charming at all angles. Before Lin Che could go to him, she saw the daughter of the manor's owner pestering Gu Jingze again. The young girl was only 13, but her eyes were filled with infatuation as she handed him flowers. Lin Che pouted. That girl was only 13. But she still felt jealous. Gu Jingze's charm was too great. So many girls fawned over him in C Nation. Coming over here, he still had such great charm. However, Gu Jingze refused the little girl's flowers. He walked towards Lin Che and embraced her. The little girl at the side watched as he hugged Lin Che intimately and even spoke to her softly beside her ear. The little girl made a silly face at Lin Che. Lin Che was filled with triumph. Although it was very childish, she still felt very happy that the little girl was so jealous. Thus, Lin Che stuck her tongue out at the little girl. Humph, Gu Jingze was hers. He was hers. He was hers no matter how handsome he was. Gu Jingze frowned when he saw her making a silly face. He asked, "What are you doing?" Lin Che turned back, feeling awkward. She was too embarrassed to say that she was jealous of a 13-year-old child. She only laughed and said, "It's nothing. I'm just playing." It was all Gu Jingze's fault. Without even looking at his appearance, his poise was too outstanding. That was probably why he attracted a lot of attention. To think that Lin Che would have to worry about some tiger lady lunging at him everywhere he went, it was really mentally tiring. Just then, Gu Jingze realized that she had something in her hands. "Why did you come here to do this?" "Oh, yes. They said that they were going to make essential oils and I wanted to learn. I have nothing to do anyway, so why not make something that I can take back to give as a souvenir?" Gu Jingze looked at her, thought for a while, and said, "All right. I'll do it with you." Okay, come, let's go do it." There were still people taking photos in the distance. They looked over here and then looked at each other. They looked at the old castle of the manor. They wanted to come over but were stopped. Lin Che asked, "There are so many people taking photos outside, but are they not allowed to take photos in this manor?" "Yes, this is a private manor." "Wow, a private manor meaning that this place belongs to one person?" "Yes, this place belongs to Strays. Strays is a royal British aristocrat. This private manor is only meant to serve him. No outsiders are allowed in. Foreigners also really know how to enjoy rich people really know how to enjoy life. No wonder the people outside weren't allowed to come in although they wanted to. They must have also been puzzled when they saw two people from C Nation walking inside here." Chapter 509, The Gu family goes to an opera together. Gu Jingze said, "I have some personal connections with him, so he invited me to stay for a few days. But this place is really huge." It turned out to be a royal place. She was now someone who had been to a royal manor. Tisk, tisk, she thought. Following Gu Jingze really had its benefits. The Lin Che in the past would probably only be able to stand outside at the very most. She would be like those people outside peering in. But now, because of Gu Jingze, she was part of the people inside. The people inside had their own troubles but she still felt that she was already very lucky. Together with Gu Jingze, she churned out a lot of pure lavender essential oil. Lin Che turned to see Gu Jingze working quietly. She thought that even if Gu Jingze wasn't a big CEO, he would still be a very handsome little worker like this. If posted online, he would immediately become an internet sensation. In the beginning, she said that she was going to do it. But in the end, Gu Jingze did it. It was because Gu Jingze simply couldn't stand to watch Lin Che in her clumsy ways. After an entire day, they were dead tired. In the evening, Liu Baikan came to look for them again. He drove here and was surprised when he saw the house filled with essential oils. "Don't tell me you guys are planning to start an online business with these essential oils." Lin Che said sheepishly, "No way. We made them because we had nothing to do in the day. We're not selling them." Liu Baikan took a small bottle to look. He laughed and said, "Give them to me if you don't want them. If I say that these were hand-pressed by Gu Jingze it'll immediately be sold out at a high price, right?" Lin Che speechlessly thought, all these businessmen first think about buying and selling. "Not at all. If you sell it, nobody will believe that Gu Jingze made these," Lin Che said. Liu Baikan said, "That's right. Nobody will believe that the high and mighty Gu Jingze would do such a laborious job." Gu Jingze walked out at this moment. He looked at Liu Baikan. "What are you doing here again?" Liu Baikan replied, "I'm inviting you and sister-in-law to an opera. The classic opera, Phantom of the Opera, is playing recently. Don't you want to watch it since you're in France?" Lin Che heard this and immediately said, "Ah, it's that very famous classic opera." That's right. Because Lin Che was in acting, she also learned the opera style in school. However, she only watched the movie version of it in school. She had never seen a live opera. Seeing that Lin Che was interested, Gu Jingze asked, "Do you want to watch it?" Lin Che nodded profusely. Yes, I've never seen a live performance." Thus, Gu Jingze said, "All right then." He said to Liu Baikan, "Wait here. We'll go get ready." Liu Baikan looked and smiled at Lin Che. "It looks like Gu Jingze is really treating you well. He wouldn't have gone for such a time-wasting event in the past." Lin Che blushed and glanced at Liu Baikan. So he has never watched an opera. He would understand it, but he wouldn't go watch it himself. Normally, he would read the synopsis, see the performance style, read the reviews on books, and that would be it. What's the meaning in that? To a workaholic like him, besides work, nothing else is meaningful. That is why I say that it's not easy to be with a workaholic like him. For you to persevere so long, I must really hand it to you. Lin Che did think that he was a workaholic. However, why didn't it ever feel meaningless when she was with him? The two of them would chat and talk, and she would also see what he was busy with, but she mostly looked through her script and watched TV shows while he worked. They didn't disturb each other, but it didn't feel boring either. Especially when she looked up from time to time. She would see Gu Jingze's heavenly face. It was really appetizing, and it made her feel as if her mood would change for the better. Lin Che said, I think it's also rather nice when he is working. The main thing was that she was still in utter awe at his vast knowledge. She thought that there was nothing that he didn't know how to do, so she admired him a lot. Perhaps that was why she didn't feel bored of him. They met Gu Jingyan at the opera theater. She was also very surprised. Second brother, you actually came here. I only invited sister-in-law originally. A famous opera actress is here this time, and I thought that sister-in-law would be interested. Lin Che responded, really? Thank you, I do want to watch it. The group of 4 went in. Lin Che then saw that there seemed to be many people from C Nation here. Seeing the group of them enter, the row of people stared at them. After all, the 4 of them were a little too outstanding. They were all handsome and beautiful, and all of them had a poise that was not like an average person's. A few Caucasian men and women also turned to look at them to see what was going on. Lin Che said in puzzlement, it looks like there are many people from C Nation here. Yes, there is an actress from C Nation in today's opera who is very famous, so many C nationals came to support her. Wow, they flew all the way from C Nation to show support. Yes. Then these supporters must be all wealthy people. Gu Jingyan smiled and looked at the candid Lin Che. You're right, because this kind of opera shows one's status easily. Thus, many people with status say that they are opera fans. I see, Lin Che said and looked at everybody who was staring at them. She looked at the few people beside her. They were all so young and poised. It was obvious that they were big shots. No wonder people were staring at them. The 4 people's entrance seemed to already be a scene. Someone at the side said, those people look like they are GU family members. All of them? Yes. Today is our lucky day. It is rare to even see one normally. Now, we're seeing 4 at once. Although they couldn't identify who was whom, they could tell that the 4 of them were GU family members. But just then, before Lin Che went in, she saw someone send a bunch of flowers. Lin Che froze. There was a shop specifically selling flowers outside the theater, as many fans would buy and gift flowers after the show. These flowers were clearly bought from here. Lin Che was still in a daze. The person who delivered the flowers said, Miss Lin, that person over there, Mr. Liu, wants to give flowers to the #1 socialite. He is your supporter. Lin Che was so awkward that she didn't know what to do. She turned to see a young man, seemingly in his 20s, smiling at her. When he saw that she was looking at him, he immediately looked up excitedly. Miss Lin, what a coincidence to see you here. I am your loyal fan. Ever since the WW party, I've been watching your shows, and I booked the entire theater to watch your movie several times. I even let my entire company go show their support. Chapter 510. He really did not give face to girls when rejecting them. Wouldn't the people in their company feel as if they always had a problem? However, from his looks, he was probably some family's rich playboy. Lin Che didn't expect these people to still be so passionate about some status as the #1 socialite. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for your support. Oh right, there have been people smearing your name recently. I even bought over a few companies. They are only going to write good things about you in the future. If they dare to write a single negative comment about you, I will shut them down immediately. No way, that wasn't a good way to waste money. This was too extravagant. No need, no need. Thank you, really. Just then, Gu Jingze already held onto Lin Che's arm. At the same time, he turned to give a cold stare at the man behind. That man quickly withdrew his gaze and looked at the stage instead. Gu Jingze kept his cold expression as he tugged Lin Che along to the VIP seats up above. Gu Jingyan was still snickering behind them. Sister-in-law really has many supporters, but sister-in-law is really pretty and talented. Your figure is so good too. Sigh. Being snatched up by second brother really makes a lot of people jealous. Gu Jingze turned his head and stared daggers at Gu Jingyan. Gu Jingyan quickly asked, What? Sister-in-law, you must protect me. Lin Che quickly said, All right. Jingyan is also telling the truth. Gu Jingze pressed Lin Che's shoulder forcefully. This woman, did she want to die by spouting nonsense? Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze. What? Since you think that I'm not good, how can you not allow others to think that I'm good? Since when have I thought that you were bad? You insult me every day. That's because nobody sees what a klutz you are. See, you're still putting me down. Fine, I promise that I won't insult you in the future. Really? Lin Che somehow didn't believe him. Gu Jingze said, but you must also promise me one thing. What is it? Don't hang out with Gu Jingyan and others so much in the future. What? Second brother, Gu Jingyan said from behind, sister-in-law should be spending more time with us. Then, she'll know about all the bad things a bad person like you has done in the past. Lin Che heard this and was immediately interested. What bad things? Last time. Shut up. Lin Che insisted that she wanted to hear about it and Gu Jingyan also wanted to tell her, but Gu Jingze stopped them with his cold face. The four of them caused a ruckus and immediately attracted attention from people around them again. Those who could afford these VIP seats were most likely big shots. An average audience would have found them noisy, but they didn't dare to say anything. But Lin Che realized that these people were all staring at them. She hastily said, All right, stop bickering. Is the opera going to start soon? Sure enough, the opera was preparing to begin. The group also quietened down. They silently watched the big preparations for the opera. The opera was naturally a good show. Watching it live made one feel even more excited and moved. Especially since this opera house was extremely famous and its facilities were first class. No wonder some wealthy people loved it here. Halfway through, Lin Che finally saw the opera actress from C Nation. She was very young and, without a doubt, pretty. Furthermore, her singing performance was very strong. No wonder she was so well liked. Moreover, actors who would perform here were all very capable. They were experts in their field. It was no easy feat for C Nation to produce such an expert. That must have been why so many people came to support her. During the curtain call, indeed many wealthy people sent gifts to the brand new opera actress. A chain of gifts was brought to the backstage and the opera actress also quickly came out to thank everybody for their support. She took off her makeup and when she came out, everybody was very enthusiastic. She thanked them politely and looked graceful when she faced these wealthy people. You are really a shining star of C Nation. Exactly, Miss Sulin, you are too pretty. We will always support you. When the pretty opera actress heard the compliments, she blushed and thanked them. However, her eyes would look over here from time to time. These wealthy people naturally all sat at the VIP seats in front. Lin Che and her gang were also fortunate enough to be able to see that beauty thank everyone with her charming voice. The moment I hear Miss Sulin's voice, it reverberates in my ears. I really wouldn't get sick of hearing it for 3 days in a row. Miss Sulin, can you sign on my clothes? Can you give me a CD? Of course, if Miss Sulin is willing to give us that silk scarf you wore in your performance, that would be the best. Everyone wanted something from her. However, the opera actress pursed her lips and smiled. She saw Gu Jingze over her and before some people could react, she was already sauntering towards him. She walked right in front of Gu Jingze, took off the silk scarf on her head, and said, I'd like to give this performance scarf to you. I hope you don't mind. No way, she's giving the scarf to him. We'll have to wait for the next time. Gifting the performance scarf seemed to represent her greatest token of appreciation, so everybody wanted it. However, she simply headed straight for Gu Jingze and gave it to him. Everybody stole glances at Gu Jingze. Since it was Gu Jingze, they also gave up. During the performance, Sulin also saw Gu Jingze from the backstage. His impressive looks were really hard to ignore. Thus, she had been staring at him throughout the performance. Later, she found out backstage that among the people who bought the VIP seats today, 4 of them were the Gu family members or relatives. There were many upper-class people who liked the arts, but it was rare to see a family like the Gu family. Somehow, it was her lucky day today that she could see such people watch her perform. Thus, when she came down, she couldn't help but look over at them. From a distance, this man was handsome. Upon looking at him more closely, he was even more charming. She had really never seen such a good-looking man. Her heart was pounding, thinking that he probably liked opera a lot since he came to watch it. She then plucked up the courage to gift him the scarf. However, Gu Jingze looked at her and said, "Sorry, I'm allergic to silk scarves." What the hell? Lin Che was just pouting, but when she heard those words, she immediately burst into laughter as she looked at the woman in front of them. Seeing that woman's embarrassed face, she also instantly felt pity for her. Without waiting for her to react, Gu Jingze already tugged Lin Che's hand and walked out with her. Gu Jingyan also looked at the actress in front pitifully, but she was more accustomed to it than Lin Che. She smiled and walked out after them. He actually didn't want anything from Sulin. Sulin was embarrassed as she stomped her foot. She didn't give the scarf to anybody else and turned around to leave. He didn't give her face at all. Do you know who that is? Give face to Sulin, that is Gu Jingze. Ah, so that is Gu Jingze. Then Sulin is a little too gutsy. The people beside him are also Gu family members. The one at his side might be the legendary Mrs. Gu. Ah, then Sulin overestimated herself.